Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sean Cornelius from the astrophotographer.com. Today I want to talk about planning and preparation. This, I believe, is the most essential step in the whole process, the whole workflow of astrophotography. Because if you don't plan and you don't prepare, you're not going to have a good night. You're not going to have a lot of integration time. Things aren't going to work out the way you want them to, and you'll end up going home or going back inside frustrated, wishing that you had never started this hobby in the first place, which I think a lot of us have come across, including myself. First thing I want to talk about, weather. We're, as astrophotographers, weathermen, weather people more or less. We have multiple apps. We're constantly checking the weather. We're seeing when clouds are going to blow through. We're seeing what the visibility is. We're seeing if there's going to be any fog early morning or if there's going to be a dew point. What's the temperature going to be at night so that we know how much noise our camera is going to generate, or if we have a dedicated camera, what we would need to cool the camera to in order to get the best possible image out of it. So there's a lot of different apps out there. Me personally, I use an iPhone, so I use the regular weather app. I use the Weather Channel, and then I use something called Clear Outside. It's a third-party free app that you can download from the App Store or from the Android store, and it gives you an idea of if there is clouds, what elevation the clouds are. It allows you to kind of see a little bit more precise to your area exactly what the weather's going to be like, wind speed, when the International Space Station is going to go over, the phase of the moon. This is all really important if we're targeting deep sky objects. So, be sure to check your apps. Be sure that, you're going to have a decent amount of clear sky. You don't want to be trying to shoot images between clouds passing and stuff. That can get really frustrating where stopping a sequence and then starting a sequence again, all because, the weather's not cooperating. And I mean, the weather's going to do what the weather's going to do. We can't control it. So all you can do is work your way around it the best you can and, minimize your frustration by knowing what's out there and what's coming your way prior to any of this happening. The second thing I do is I usually pick 2 or 3 targets that I know are up in the night sky or that are coming up later in the night. And I pick them and I prioritize them based off of how much integration time I'm actually going to get on the target. So like right now, we're in March. Orion and the winter constellations are in the west and they're starting to set. So there's not a whole lot of integration time, let's say like on M42 or, the Horsehead, the Flame, Thor's helmet. There's not as much integration time on there. Right now it's pretty much galaxy season. The Leo triplets are up. There's a lot of integration time on M81 and M82, M101. So I would plan your targets according to how much time they're going to be actually up. And I would pick 2 to 3. And the reason for this is, like me, I'm shooting out of my backyard. So there's trees, there's obstacles, there's neighbors' fences and stuff like that I have to work with and deal with. Not to mention I live under a border light sky. So my integration time is a lot longer because I have to shoot through narrowband filters versus just going to a dark side, popping the camera into the telescope and, just start shooting away. Once I prioritize it, then I go to an app like Stellarium. It's a free download for both Windows and Mac. And I usually look and see how long they're going to be up, where they are, and then I put my focal length and my pixel size of the camera that I'm using, which happens to be the camera I'm filming on right now, a Rebel T7i. And the reason for this is so it allows you to frame up the objects that you're going after, and you're actually able to see with the focal length and the pixel size and the chip size of your camera the actual image of what you're going to receive, the field of view of the image that you're going to see. So like I use primarily a Celestron 8SE on a Celestron Advanced AVX with this camera. So wide angle targets are not really good for me. I would have to create a portrait of a wide field of view, let's say like the California Nebula, which is quite a large field of view. That would be better shot in a shorter focal length with the same camera. But, you know, the Stellarium app, there's other apps out there. There's Sky Safari 6. That's all that's just coming to the top of my head right now. But be sure to go and look at these apps, frame up what your target is that you're going to be shooting, and make sure that you can, you know, work that field of view in such a way that, you know, you get the best image quality possible. Let's see here. Batteries. I can't stress this enough. There's been many times where I've gone outside and I haven't charged a battery, and this leads to a little bit of frustration. So if your equipment, your headlamp takes AA or AAA batteries, just have extra batteries on hand, especially when it's cold out. Batteries don't last as long. If you have a dedicated power source, like if you're in your own backyard, you know, be sure to check that stuff regularly as well, because there's nothing worse than being in the middle of imaging and you lose power due to, you know, a connector getting wet or something being faulty, something not hooked up right. So if stuff runs on batteries or you have a dedicated power source, you know, be sure to always check that stuff out, because, you know, there's nothing worse than just being shut down in the beginning or even in the middle of your night as you're imaging. I mean, that creates a lot of frustration, and I definitely feel that pain. I have felt that pain a lot. I would also, if you have the ability to, set up before dark. This is very important. Not only is that you're able to check all your equipment out, make sure everything's working. You're not bumping around and stumbling around in the dark, you know, trying to hook up cables, trying to pull our line. On most equatorial mounts, you have to be aimed in or around towards Polaris, so you can do a polar line when it gets dark. I would set up, and if you know your elevation, your latitude and stuff like that, and your longitude, you know, adjust it so that way you're close to where you know Polaris will be when it shows up at night. This allows for less time getting set up, less time aligning, and more time actually on acquisition on target. Saves you a lot of headache. I'm a procrastinator, so I set up in the dark. I have set up in the dark a lot, and that just usually leads to a fairly poor night of imaging. If you do track through your computer, be like if you're using a dedicated camera or a DSLR, a lot of apps out there for that. I won't go into all the apps because there's so many. Be sure that, you know, you're up and running prior to your imaging sequence, and if you get everything done rather quickly, you put the cap on, you can start taking, you know, darks before, you know, it gets too dark. Flats and biases, you know, those can come pretty much any time, but you want your darks to be as close as possible to the sensor temperature as you possibly can, at the same focal length, at the same focus. So like I say, if you get everything set up early and, you know, there's still not enough stars out to align, you know, you can start taking your flats, your darks, not your flats, I'm sorry, your darks. And then, you know, once your stars get out there, it makes for a smoother progression and sequence. That's all I have for now. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that you would add to your planning and preparation. If you're at home, you know, be sure to have the beer in the fridge stocked. Do you stay up when you image? Do you, you know, set a timer if you know a meridian flip is coming up? Let me know what you guys do, and also if there was anything you would add to this. Until later, clear skies.